open date, thought was really, really good for us. Had a chance to get some guys healthy and, work on us. As far as the injury report, Sean is still in a boot, has not practiced yet. I think he'll have a chance to maybe practice a little bit later in the week. He's probably doubtful for the game, but he may be a game-time decision. AJ is also going to be a game-time decision. He'll be limited in practice all week. So, but he'll be a game-time decision. Defense, Victor Evans, I think, will practice this week, and I think Gary Wunderlich will also kick some this week. So I think he'll be probable for the game, but we'll find out more on Tuesday. A lot of respect, unbelievable respect for Alabama, for Coach Saban, the things they've been able to accomplish. They're number one in the country for a reason. They're very good, offense, defense, and special teams. Impressive to watch them against Vanderbilt. Ran the ball really well. They're running for over 300 yards a game. Most impressive thing is they haven't turned the ball over yet. That's very, very impressive. Really good quarterback, good backs. Ridley on the outside can hurt you on one-on-one, so very good on offense. Defense, they lost all these players, and you think they're going to take a step back, but you turn the tape on, they're every bit as good. Payne is a first-round draft pick. He's really, really good inside. Hamilton at linebacker, Minka Fitzpatrick. They just got really good players all over the field. So they do a really good job. And, again, they're number one in the country for a reason. So, but excited about the challenge. Looking forward to going up there. It's why you coach and why you play, so you can play in these big games. So really excited about the challenge.
All right, raise your hand if you have a question. We'll bring the microphone to you.
Matt, I know y'all practiced with some crowd noise last week. What progress do you think you guys have made in communication and maybe eliminating some of those pre-snap penalties?
Yeah, I think that's obviously been an area of focus for us, and in the open date, it gave us a chance to work on some of that, and you think you got those things corrected. So, but when you get out there in front of 100,000 people, you got to go execute it and do it. But I do think that it's been better.
Matt, you got some guys on this team that were there 2 years ago. Huge win for us. You were there, obviously. What do you tell these kids? How do you prepare them? Do you let those guys tell the story, or are you taking that lead?
No, I think I think that obviously helps when you got guys that have been there and played in that environment. It obviously helps, but I think the thing about it is 2 years ago doesn't mean anything for this year. This team is the one that's got to go to Tuscaloosa. So, but obviously experience does help. Some of those offensive linemen, they've been in the stadium. So I think that does obviously help some.
Questions?
You touched on Alabama's run game. They were very impressive against Vanderbilt with that, and I know you guys made some strides against Cal. But do you think y'all are ready to face that run game?
Well, it's going to be a challenge. Obviously they're running for 300 yards a game. I think we got to limit their direct runs. We got to try to make them bounce the ball where they can't attack us straight downhill. I think that's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a area of focus for us to try to stop the run and make them throw the ball to beat us.
What's one of the key things somebody like Shea Patterson needs to know the first time he plays in Alabama?
Throw it fast. Play fast. We got to play fast. Try to keep them out of their comfort zone. Have very simple answers for him in the pass game, and you can't sit back there and hold it. They got good pass rushers. They got good coverage guys. So I think it's very, very important to play fast. Try to get them out of their comfort zone. Try to keep some of their guys on the field by going tempo. Try to limit the looks they can give us, with our tempo, and try to get them out of their comfort zone. But very important to, just to be on time with the football, to scramble around and try to make plays with your feet. You got to do that some, but we got to be smart about how long we hold the ball.
There's been a lot said in the last week about the limited number of offensive plays that were run last weekend. Do y'all expect to add some to it?
Well, that's your hope. I think the biggest thing that you have to do is you have to stay on schedule. You can't get behind the chains and live in third and long. Third and 4 is way different than the 3rd and 8 against Alabama. And I just think you got to stay on schedule so you can stay in your tempo, and you got to try to stay ahead of the chains. And I think that's very, very important, especially for a tempo team. is to stay on schedule. That's a huge, huge deal.
I will take some questions up top.
Coach, Bama's defense is good year in, year out, but what have you seen so far from them out of their defense and their front seven, as you talked earlier about Payne being a first-round draft pick?
No, they're very talented. You know, you thought when they lost Jonathan Allen, 22 and 56, and Reuben Foster, you're like, finally they made. But then when you turn the tape on, they got guys stepping in just as good. Isaiah Buggs at junior college. Yeah, I mean, it's just they're really, really good. And so I just think you got to be smart about having throws that you can throw on time, and then you have to run it and have a balance, because if they can just attack the spot and they know you're throwing it, that they can get after you. So I think you have to have balance. You think they have to respect the run game, and and have some balance. And then when you do that, you maybe can create some one-on-ones outside if you run it well enough.
Any more questions up top? Anything else down low?
Matt, after the Alabama game last year, 2 big wins, it looked like y'all might be recovering. Why do you think last year's team was not able to continue that momentum?
Turnovers. I think that was the turnovers. We had 2 turnovers for touchdowns and a special teams touchdown. That was 21 non-offensive points that they got in last year's game, and it was the difference in the game. So I think protecting the football. I think Alabama is +6 in turnover margin this year. That's going to be a big factor in the game. The area of hidden yardage, special teams, in big games on the road, special teams has to show up, and then we can't turn the ball over. I mean, those are things. That's a formula for us staying in the game and having a chance to win it in the fourth quarter.
I was thinking more big picture after the Memphis and Georgia wins. Why do you think the team was not able to continue momentum?
You know what? I don't know that. I just again, last year and this year are totally different, and we're focused on our team from this year. But I do think that after the loss to Bama, we did bounce back against Georgia. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it was turnovers or what that was. But again, I think this year is different than last year. I think we just got to focus on us getting better week to week this year.
How do you think the defensive line is going to fare against the run game at Alabama?
I think they're going to play hard. They're, Josiah and Breland, and I think they'll step in there and do a good job. They'll go in there and they'll fight their tails off. We just got to do a good job of being gap control, and I think we gotta attack those backs and before they get going. I think when those guys get going, they're hard to stop. So we're going to have to do a good job of trying to make them run lateral where they can't just attack us downhill. I think if we do that, we'll have a chance.
Man, I know we run the read option, and that's our run game, but we haven't kept it as a quarterback much. Is that kind of by design, or is that?
Well, I think you got to protect Shea some with how many times that he can carry it. But I do think that there is a place for him to carry it to help out in the run game some, and he's a good enough athlete to do that. But I think you got to pick and choose your spots.
You mentioned the need for offensive balance. Teams just don't run the ball in Alabama. Are there different things you can do schematically in the run game, or how do you realistically go about trying to achieve balance against them?
Well, I just think formationally you have to try to attack them and make somebody other than their front seven make a play. We got to make their safeties make tackles instead of their front seven. And if their safeties start making tackles, then that maybe opens up some different things. But I think 2nd and 7 and running for 3 yards, that's a good run. And that's what we have to be able to live with. You're not going to get chunk plays all the time and have 80-yard touchdowns, And I think you're going to have to play field position. You're going to have to punt some, pin them down deep, and try to play the field position game with them. You got to go win and play good, sound, solid football. I think when you get caught up trying to go for a bunch of stuff and try to change who you are, you can get behind a little bit. So I just think it's important that we stay on schedule. And again, if it's if we run for 3 and it's 3rd and 4, I think that's a good formula, to stay out of those 3rd and longs.
Who've you settled on for center if Sean cannot go?
Right now, it's probably going to be Jordan Sims with Javon at left guard. That's the way we'll start the game. And then if Sean can go, then you would have Javon and Jordan back at guard. Givens is at right guard right now. Yes.
All right, any other questions for Coach Lee?
Coach, you've seen Jalen Hurts last year, but what have you seen that you've seen improvement from him, especially Tuya as well?
Yeah, no, I was very impressed with both their quarterbacks in the last game, but Hurts, the biggest thing you see is just how calm he is back there. He doesn't get rattled. He almost looks like he's effortless, he's just making guys miss, and he just how poised he is. It's very impressive for a guy that young. So obviously he's been in a lot of big games, and he's a very, very good player. He can hurt you with his feet. He's doing a great job in the passing game and getting the guys when the opportunity presents itself. So obviously a very, very good player. But the thing that sticks out to me the most is just how poised he is.